Welcome to the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly. On today's episode, we're creating this image right here. It's a full editing workflow tutorial. You're going to see everything from start to finish. We're going to get our creative juices flowing, and we're going to make this image here. So let's get started. Here we are in Lightroom. Okay, and this is a raw image right out of the camera. So I'm going to show you my start to finish edit process here in the workflow that I use for this particular image. Anyway, I'm going to stay with Adobe Standard. I don't want too much excessive color in here, so I think Adobe Standard is a good starting point. I'm going to hit this auto button because don't forget Lightroom uses artificial intelligence. It's called Sensei, and it does a really nice job at giving you a nice starting point. So I'm starting out right there. And you notice my highlights and shadows are clipped a little bit. Now for my vision on this image, I want this image to be open and airy, so I'll show you what I'm going to do here. First off, I'm going to take my shadows and open those shadows up somewhat. So I'm going to get rid of some of the darkness in here. So I'm going to open those shadows up a good bit here. I'm going to take my blacks and I'm going to open those up as well. All right, and this is my artistic vision for this image. I don't want any real deep blacks in the image. So something like right around in there. Now my highlights are still clipped, so I'm just going to pull those back a little bit. And let's look at our highlights here. Do we want to pull these back anymore? I might want that flower to have a little bit of a glowing look to it. So maybe right around there. And let's see here. Let's look at our vibrance. Do we want to pull up any more vibrance? Yeah, I think I do. I think I want a little bit more color in here. So I might just take that vibrance up a little bit more to get these pinks to pop a little bit. And I don't like this orange here, but I'm going to take care of that in Photoshop, and you'll see how I do that. And let's see the overall saturation. Yeah, I might just take that up a little bit right there, and I think that looks pretty good. Now let me show you what I've done to details here. On details, I'm just using the default positions of the 25 and capture sharpening and the radius and the detail sliders. I'm leaving them at default. I'm using no noise reduction because I'll take care of that in Photoshop using Topaz Studio 2. And let's go to lens corrections here, and I'm going to remove chromatic aberrations. Now I could click enable profile corrections. On this image, it's not going to really make much difference here. Although, yeah, it actually does, because when I click it, you notice the edges get lighter. So it gets removes some of that vignetting on the edges, and I actually kind of like that for this look. One more time, let me shut that off. I didn't think I was going to like that, but let's do it again. Yeah, I do. I think that helps. All right, so we're good to go. All we have to do now is right-click and edit in Photoshop 2020. Next step, noise reduction. So we're going to duplicate our background, and that's a Command or Control J, depending if you're on a Mac or PC, to duplicate the background layer so we can work non-destructively. We'll come up to Filter. We're going to open up Topaz Studio 2, and we're going to use AI Clear, which is awesome. And to me, it's a one-click wonder. So I'm going to come up here to Add Filter, AI Clear, and you see the little bar going across. It's doing its magical thinking here using artificial intelligence. And basically what it's going to do is going to remove noise and give me some sharpening on my image. And it does a really good job. And that's all I need to do right there. Noise is gone, picture's slightly sharper. Click Accept, and we'll be right back into Photoshop. Now, you might like this orange back here, this soft orange back here, and it doesn't look bad, but for my vision today, I want to remove it, and let me show you how I will remove that. So to do that, I'm going to duplicate my background layer again, Command or Control J, so we can work non-destructively. I'm going to come up to Filter. We're going to go into the Camera Raw filter. Now, the Camera Raw filter is just like Lightroom. It has all the same adjustments. It just looks different. Basically, what I want to do is use the HSL, Hue, Saturation, Luminance tool to get rid of this orange. So what I'm going to do is come up here to right here. It says Targeted Adjustment Tool. Give that a click and come over to the HSL adjustments right here. Now, I'm going to start out with... let's start out with hue. I'm going to come here and click and drag. I'm going to shift this hue. I'm going to shift this hue more into the greener tones. Maybe something like around there. Now let's come to saturation. And let's take this saturation and pull the saturation back. So basically I'm trying to get rid of that orange color. And so something maybe right around there. Now let's come here. I'm still in saturation, so let me click here and drag. Pull that saturation down a little bit, maybe right in there. That little bit of orange in there doesn't bother me. Let's come back to hue and see if I can shift it. Yeah. And it'll just pick the colors that are in that area under the targeted tool, which is really nice. So I'm thinking maybe right there looks pretty good. I'm happy with that. Click OK. And just like that, let's click this eyeball. The oranges are gone. Okay. And then what I think I'll do is, because it's affecting other areas of the image here, and I don't like that. So what I'm going to do is, this is important, Option click or Alt click the layer mask right here. Put a black hide all layer mask on there. And then we're going to get a brush here. And make sure you're painting with white paint. If you're not, you can just type your X key to switch those swatches around. And I'm going to make my brush rather large here. And I'm going to take, my flow right now is at 5%. I'm going to take my flow to 10%. So if you hold the shift and type the 1 key, you'll move your flow to 10%. My opacity is at 100%. And I'm just going to come up here and use the layer mask and paint that orange out. And that way, this area here will be fine. So we're just going to come and get rid of that orange. And I like that. It's looking good. There's a little bit of orange down in here. I make my brush a little smaller and just remove a little bit of that in there. There's some more orange up in there that I want to get rid of. How about in there? And that's looking pretty good. Okay, so let's click the eyeball here. So there's the before and there's the after. And I'm happy with that. I think that's looking really good. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but there must have been a fence back here. And I used a really shallow depth of field. But you can see kind of a diagonal line going through here. And that bugs me. And I'm going to get rid of that. Okay, so I'm going to use a really interesting technique here. So follow me closely here. I'm going to go down here and get a blank pixel layer right here. All right, I'm going to get my brush tool. I'm going to type B for brush. I'm going to have a nice soft 0% hardness brush here. I'm going to take my flow down to maybe 5%. So I'm going to go Shift 0, 5. So when the flow is low, the more I paint, it'll slowly build up. So what I want to do is Option click around this color right here, where this line's going through here, like maybe this color here, and just start to paint over that a little bit, just with raw color here. And you know, I can sample different areas in here and kind of like just blend this so that diagonal line doesn't look so obvious. And all I want to do is get rid of it. I'm just not happy with it. And if I don't like this darker color here, I can maybe sample this color and just paint a little bit of this over here. This is a method I've really perfected, I think, in Photoshop, because I do a lot of flower images. And I really want my flower images to look really awesome. I might just paint a little bit of that in there. And you know what? It just has to look, how should I say? We just have to sell the look. It doesn't have to be just like it was out of the camera. But this is our job as artists, you know, to make things look the way we want them to look. So I might just paint up in there a little bit, and here a little bit. Again, I'm trying to get rid of that diagonal line and blend. I'm just option clicking and sampling different colors so I can. So that's looking pretty good now. Right in here, like here, just paint. And I might zoom or speed this up so you don't have to really watch the whole process here, because it's going to take me a little while to get this. So if you're shooting with a shallow depth of field, that's really an effective way to really clean up your background. So remember that one. That's a golden tip for you. Now, let's not option click, but let's just click this eyeball so we can see there's the before and there's the after. Now, if I've overshot and painted on my flower here a little bit, no big deal. Just make sure you're on that layer and click on the add layer mask icon. Make sure you're painting with black paint. Right now it's set to white, so I'm going to type the X key. Right now my flow is set to 5%, so I'm just going to type Shift 0, get it back to 100%. Make my brush a little bit smaller and just clean that up. You know, just paint over. If I overshot, just paint over it. Don't have to be 100% perfect here, but just paint over it. And just like that, we're good to go. It's always best to take a pause and study your image and see where you think it needs to go next. Now I'm looking at this image and I'm thinking I love this pink here. And this green is nice back in here, but I'm thinking, what if I had a nice soft pink glow over the whole image? I think that would look beautiful. So let's try that. So to do that, I'm going to use I'm going to come to the adjustment layers here and get a solid color here. But before I do that, I want to make sure I'm going to sample the pink from this flower here. Now to do that, right now I'm on this layer 2 where I added this painting in here. So I need to sample that pink color. So I'm going to come down and click on the background layer. Make sure I'm in the brush mode. If you're not, just type B for brush. Hold your Option or Alt key down and sample the pink color inside of here. Like that. And you notice that swatch turns pink. Now we can come back up to layer 2. Let's click on layer 2. Come to our adjustment layers and click on solid color. And that's going to put a solid pink color over the entire image. I know it doesn't look good now, but let's just click OK. We're going to change the blend mode. So we're going to change our blend mode to soft light. All right, and that adds a nice pink soft glow over the entire image. Now I think it's a little too strong. So I'm going to take this opacity and just pull it back a little bit. So I just want to introduce a little pink cast over the entire image. And it adds to the softness and the quietness and the gentleness of this flower picture. Now, I'm really happy with this image where it's at so far. And this is the time where I think I want to experiment. So here's my next step, and I highly recommend that you do this. Come up to Image and come down to where it says Duplicate and click on Duplicate. You can rename it here, but I'm just going to leave it the same name with Copy to save time and click OK. And what it does is it makes me a copy right here. So I have this image and I have this image. It's just a copy of it. So now I can come back and save this image and it's good to go. But now I'm going to experiment on this image. When you have a nice open background like this, you know, with not a lot of busyness happening on it, this is a good time to experiment with textures. And let's do that. So to do that, I need to work on a pixel layer, and right now I have a color fill layer, so I need to pull this all together, and that's Shift, Option, Command, or Control E to pull it all together on a stamped layer. And now let's go to Filter, and we're going to go to Topaz Studio 2, my creative toolbox, and I love it. And we're just going to add a texture here. So we're going to come here to add filter. Let's play with the texture. Come to texture. And let's find a texture that may work on this image. Let's see. You know, something like that looks really cool. And I actually like it in the actual normal blend mode. Now, a lot of times I'll go through the blend modes. And my favorite blend modes are like Multiply, Color Burn, Overlay, or Soft Light. Like Soft Light there. And Soft Light looks really nice. But I'm trying to keep this image quiet, so I don't want to add a lot more contrast to it. And soft light will add some contrast to it. So what I'm going to do is take this amount, and I think I like this texture here. I'm going to take this opacity and pull it back, like so. You know, a good bit. I just want a little bit of that texture showing through. Okay, and you can see that texture is kind of yellow. So what I'm going to do is come down and come to the saturation. I'm going to pull that saturation off like so. And I might just pull this opacity back a little bit more because I just want a little bit of texture just floating around back there. And I'm going to take the saturation, which I've already taken off, but I'm going to come under it. And it says color strength. I'm going to take this color strength and pull it up. This will add another color of my choosing. So I'm going to pull the color strength up. And remember, I like that soft pink glow. I want to continue in that vein. And so I'm going to pull this saturation up and make sure I have a nice pink in there. Something like that. Now that's way too much, so I'm going to take it the whole way off and just build it up very slowly. I just want that little bit of pink in there. Not much. And now let's come back up to opacity, and I'm just going again to, I just want that nice and soft and quiet back there. I don't want a lot of texture. I just want a little bit in there. Now let's come to the layer mask because I don't want any on my flower here. So I clicked on layer mask, and now we're going to click on brush and make sure we're painting with black paint. And let's adjust our radius size here and our softness. I have edge aware on. Now I'm just going to paint it off the flower. And it don't have to be perfect here. Paint it as quickly as I can. Like that. Now, I might want to take some off of here as well. Okay, now let's make our brush smaller, and I'll take a little bit off the stem. And this time, I won't take all of it off the stem, so I'll take this transparency and I'll bump it up a bit. And I'll just come in here and just paint along this stem. Okay, and I'm not even going the whole way down. I think right there looks really nice. So that's cool. Now let's click on the canvas right here. Here's the before and here's the after. As you can see, it's not over the top, but it looks really, really nice. And one last final thing I may want to do is add another filter, because remember, this is my playing time. And I'm going to come down to the vignette, and let's play with some vignettes. Usually I like to start out, I'm going to shut the strength the whole way off, so I don't see any vignette. I'm going to click on color right here. I'm going to sample this color, this pink in here, so I'm going to get this little eyedropper tool and find some pink in here. Do I want that darker pink? Right like that. Let's try that. We'll leave this open because we can come and alter this later. So now what I'm going to do is take the strength and pull it up. And see what that does? It just adds a nice little pink tint around the edges there. Now I can come here with the size and adjust the size. Don't want to go too crazy, but maybe right around there. I can take the strength and pull it back more. That's off. I don't want too much, but I want a little bit of pinkness on the edge here, just to keep the pink theme going here. Now let's take the transition and move that transition up a good bit. And let's come with the strength here a little bit more. And maybe something like that. Let's click the eyeball of the vignette and see if we like it. It's a good test. I didn't go crazy with it. That's before and that's after. Before and after. And I think I'm happy with it. Now, just as a note here, you could take this little target here and you can move it all around. I'm not going to move it, but if I move it, you'll actually see it in real time changing. It's really cool. And you can change the luminosity value of it here as well. See, you can make it darker or you can make it lighter. So play with all these sliders and get it right where you want it. I'm not necessarily going for a darkened vignette, but I just want to add a little bit of pink to the edges just to bring you into the flower. And that looks really nice. We'll click accept and we'll come right back into Photoshop. All right, we're pretty much finished here. And so let's come over to our original edit here that we were happy with. So let's click on it. So this is one edit here. And I'm going to save this out because I love this. I think it's beautiful and I'm happy with it. But here's another take when I click on my duplicated image with my texture. I like them both. Which one do I like the best? Now you can decide that later, so I would save them both and then make that determination. Or keep them both because you like them both. Okay. Now let's take a look at, say we like this one, and let's come to the background layer. Option or Alt click it so we can see where we've come from. So we've come from here, all right, and we've went to this. So a big change in the image and I'm happy with it. I hope you enjoyed this one today. Well, there it is, a full flower edit, starting out in Lightroom, moving into Photoshop, and going into Topaz Studio 2 as a plugin. I hope you enjoyed this one today. If you did, please like it and share it with your friends. Also, if you're not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell notification icon. And then every time I upload a new tutorial, you'll be notified. Also, please leave comments and questions in the comments section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. Thanks for joining me today in the Joy of Editing with Dave Kelly, and I'll see you all right here next time. But until then, happy editing.